Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today to stay curious. Today, my co-producer Marty Winkle and we've got a tight little program. We're going to talk about the Astronaut Hall of Fame inductees this weekend here at the Kennedy Visitors Complex Space Center. Roy Bridges and Mark Kelly, and give you their little thumbnail bio there. We got two birthdays today. Don Gorie and Metcalf-Lindenburger. What's her first name? I'll tell you in a minute here. I forgot it. But and then we've got a little surprise for you. There was a country western video that was used our facility as part of their backdrop by Mitchell Tenpenny. And not the country music fan I used to be maybe 25, 30 years ago, but this guy's a good talent, and it's a great little video, and we're going to tease you with that. And at 6 o'clock today, you can link up on Facebook the connection to Mitchell Tenpenny's hit country western song, We Had History. And so talk about that at the end of the program here. But Marty, how you doing, buddy? Say hi on our UCX family microphone there. A big weekend for astronauts this weekend.
I'm doing good, Mark. How are you?
Well, we've been good. We're good. We're getting Shuttle Fest put away, lessons learned, and working on the next three for your enjoyment, and a lot of good energy in the museum. Our STEAM program's going good with a lot of kids in here, and we're packing up the auction items that we thank some of you purchasing auction items. I know maybe Tom Celentano's out there and bought something from us, and many of you supporting our museum, and Karan, Conklin, our executive director, and some of our staff and volunteers are putting your purchases together, and so when you pay for them, we get them out the door here. So that's how we keep our nonprofit afloat. That's a big part of our general fund capital, are these auctions 3 or 4 times a year. So, but I want to say special hello to Doris Cash. She said she was going to be watching today. John Darlington, always glad that you're watching. Malcolm Housing, Connie McDaniel, one of our ACE volunteers, been working on those auction items today. She said she'd be watching today. And Brian Houston, Naeem Khan, and Tony Russo chimed in early on our Facebook post that they'd be anxiously watching Stay Curious today. So off and running. 803 or 4 episodes now, Marty. We're starting to lose track, but it's all because of you wanting content about the shuttle era, about space history, and we love providing that to you. And of course, the occasional interview, like we had yesterday with astronaut wrangler Nick Thomas, whose job is the chief educator for Delaware North, is getting those astronauts around the center in front of you so that you can get autographs and hear their stories. So, Marty, a special thanks to gohistory.org. They support and preserve and enjoy history. These are some great friends of ours now. Ram, his wife Mal, and their son Bharat made a substantial donation to the American Space Museum, and they love history, and they go all over the world. And I want y'all to check this out because they have issues that you want to download their little newsletter, and they go all over Europe and America. And one of the
Don't touch it.
Okay, what's going on, Marty?
It's going slow, and that's when we crash.
Okay, crash alert that we may have something going on with our Streamlabs here. But a couple of stories that they've covered is the Goddard Test Rocket Site. If you didn't know it, it's located in the ninth hole fairway of Pakachog Golf Course, Pakachaug Golf Course. And that, of course, is outside of Worcester, Massachusetts, technically Auburn, Massachusetts. There's a marker there in the fairway where Robert Goddard launched the first liquid fuel rocket in 1921. And Marty and I love Goddard. We always love an opportunity to talk about him. And I'd love to play golf there, Marty. There's a good reason to go play golf there. You want to advance the next slide for me?
Advance. It's just don't go between 3 and 4. Let me do it.
Oh, okay. All righty. Well, Also interesting, many of you know a little footnote of astronaut history is that astronaut Michael Collins, the command module pilot of Apollo 11 and also on the Apollo 10, I think was his mission, Gemini 10, I mean. He was born in Rome, Italy on Halloween, October 31st, 1930. His family was stationed there because his father worked as a defense attaché at the U.S. Embassy in Rome. Where his street name where he was born was Via Taveri, where there's about five Via Taveris, they found out. To our surprise, we found the birthplace in a few minutes' walk, easily recognizable by a plaque on the building. So there you go, our famous astronaut Michael Collins. He died about 2 years ago. He was the first director of the Smithsonian in Washington. And those are the kind of travel stories you're going to get from gohistorytravel.org. They have things like the presidential rail car Ferdinand Magellan that was used by FDR. They've been to the World War I site in Belgium of the poppy seed poem in Flanders Field. And they've been to Shildon, England to see Winston Churchill's funeral train. Just some things that you're going to find from Ram, his wife Mal, and son Bharat. And here they are. And we thank them for their donation to the museum here. They love the museum. You never know where they're going to pop up, Marty. Remember, we saw them a couple weeks ago out the astronaut encounter out there. So we hope to see them in our museum again. And thank you for their donation that we hope to improve our capabilities to do things off-site with. So, all right. Well, the big buzz of the weekend of Space Coast, if you're into space, is the Hall of Fame induction of 2 astronauts. This is the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation's endeavor, indeed founded by the Mercury astronauts. And there's the great Alan Shepard and the beautiful statue in the Hall of Fame. And that's how they do it. If you've never been there, folks, is these are lucite impressions that are made of the face likeness of each astronaut, and then they're illuminated from behind with the their space mission patches or below it. And excuse me, of course, I think there's 113, and all the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo astronauts, of course, are in there. And then they get into the shuttle era. And we have this year's inductees are Roy D. Bridges Jr. and Mark Kelly. Roy Bridges was a major in the U.S. Air Force, and he was in the astronaut class in 1980. Talk about him. Bridges has 1 flight, and he was center director at Kennedy Space Center for 6 years. Mark Kelly's got those 4 missions there, and of course he's the identical twin of Scott Kelly. So let's learn a little bit about him. There's Roy on his 1 mission when he was pilot of the 8-day Space Lab 2 mission. The main objection of STS-51F was to verify the performance of the Space Lab systems, determine its interface capability with the orbiter, and then, of course, all the science aboard there. And what he has there, Marty, has gone by the wayside like a buggy whip. There's your continuous computer paper that their orders would be written out. And you know, in a way we've gone paperless, in a way we haven't, but there's Roy Bridges, the pilot, all right? He was going to be a pilot for a second flight. Anybody out there know what second flight he was on? Famous flight that got canceled? I'll tell you in just a minute. But Roy grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Oh, no, he's born in Atlanta. He grew up in Gainesville, Georgia. Boy Scout. Of course, this was Challenger in August 1985. He was a Purdue University graduate. Then he was going to be a pilot for 61F that never flew. Bridges is a decorated Vietnam veteran. There's a picture of him as he looks today and be out there. 11 o'clock is when the festivities start underneath Atlantis. All right, I'll tell you a little more about that in a second. He had 262 combat missions in Vietnam, very experienced pilot. And then in his astronaut career, like I said, he was going to be on 61F that never flew. And there's the crew of 61F. Little bit of trivia of space history. The commander was going to be Fred Houck. Roy Bridges was going to be the pilot's second flight. And let's see, mission specialist was John Lounge, and David Hilmers is the other specialist. They all had flown previously before. Houck would have been his third flight. And this was going to be the Ulysses spacecraft to orbit the sun. But it was going to be deployed by a Centaur G liquid-fueled rocket in the payload bay. And this was a big contention for astronauts. They did not want to fly with a liquid-fueled Atlas rocket, and all of that had to be keeping it alive in the payload bay with the probe Ulysses to be sent on it. All right. In fact, because of the danger of the liquid fuel in that payload bay. Chief of Astronaut Office John Young referred to the two Centaur flights, one for Ulysses and one for Galileo, as the, quote, Death Star flights, all right? The flight was so risky that Commander Houck gave his crewmates an option to leave the crew if they considered the mission to be too unsafe. Well, by the time Challenger was lost, all right, in 86, this was in January 86, this was going to fly in May 86. Bridges left NASA and he was replaced by Pinky Nelson, and that Magellan later flew 4 years later as STS-30 with a PAM on it, payload assist motor is what they were called, a solid rocket motor. We'll have to do a story, Marty, on that Centaur in the payload bay. I don't know if you were involved with the engines, of course, then, but do you remember any people talking about it, how dangerous it was? I know Terry White, our manager of the OPS, orbital garages. But you were going to say something there, Marty. You remember any of that?
Well, I remember the incidences, but I don't know of anything in particular.
Well, there's another famous crew took pictures of that never flew, just like the famous Vandenberg crew that never flew. 61F had a number and everything, and a beautiful patch actually. So, Roy Bridges went on to serve as the center director for NASA from 1997 to 2003. He succeeded Jay Honeycutt, and then he was the Langley director at Langley Research Center from 2003 to 2005. So he's also received the National Nuclear Security Administration's highest honor, the Distinguished Service Gold Award, and he is a Northrop Grumman consultant in his senior years there. So Roy Bridges, congratulations to you. I'll be out there Saturday morning to see the festivities under Atlantis. Then they have a big black tie dinner with more hoopla at the Hilton that night. But I'm not going to be at that. Just don't have a tuxedo anymore, Marty. Well, Mark Kelly is the other astronaut to be inducted. And interestingly, when I went to Wikipedia, Mr. Roy Bridges had 2 pages of Wikipedia information. And Mark Kelly, 22 pages, Marty, of information on Mark Kelly. Of course, he's one of the great commanders, I think, of the later era of the shuttle when they pilot in a commander, and he's being rewarded as inducted into the Hall of Fame. He is Senator Kelly, okay? Senator Mark Kelly there in his orange pumpkin suit on his last mission, the last flight of Discovery. And that was whip up my notes here on their missions. Discovery was in 2010. 11, May 2011. That delivered the alpha magnetic spectrometer, and it appeared after Kelly's wife, Gabby Giffords, was shot in an assassination attempt when she was a congresswoman for Arizona. And quite a traumatic situation there. Kelly, I haven't mentioned, is indeed a U.S. senator from the great state of Arizona. There's his senator-looking picture there. He took over the office. He won the election that was vacated by let me look here. John McCain's death left that seat open in Arizona. He was elected to that and then reelected. Kelly is the fourth retired astronaut to be elected to Congress after John Glenn, Harrison Schmitt, and Jack Swigert. Jack Swigert died of cancer before he could assume office as a Colorado legislative. I think he was a representative. He may have been senator. So, any rate, he's involved in politics, and that's a whole other world, of course. He was previously married and has two daughters, Claudia and Claire, by that marriage. Great astronaut. Let's look at his career here. There's his twin brother, who, of course, Scott on the right, famously. No, that's Scott on the left. Usually Mark has the mustache there. They were going to try to fly together. There had been speculation of one being the commander and the other being the pilot, and they kind of thought their families would just be too much for him on there. But he's got 4 flights, a total of how many days he have in space? 54 days in space, commander and a pilot twice, and born in Orange, New Jersey. Okay, February 21st, 1964, of course, with his twin brother. So, very interesting career. The Kelly brothers, of course, and will be inducting. And Scott is already in the Hall of Fame. He was inducted a couple years ago. There they are. So, Roy Bridges and Mark Kelly. Well, some happy birthdays, Marty. I think I'll get my hat out here. Having one of those kind of days, put my party hat on. We're going to say happy birthday to Don Gorie. All right, let me get my notes. 66 years old for Don Gorie, all right, and Dottie Metcalf-Lindenburger is Lindenburger. She is 48 years old, very young. She was on 131, that's her only flight. But Dominic Lee Pudwell Gorie, a veteran pilot commander for 4 shuttle flights, was born May 2nd, 1957 in Lake Charles, Louisiana. But he grew up in Miami, Florida. Gorie was pilot on STS-91, the 9th and final shuttle Mir docking in 1998, and STS-99, a space radar mission in 2000. Then Gorie was the commander of STS-108, mission to the International Space Station in 2001, and then in STS-123 in 2008, delivering Japan's Kibo module up there. And that was the mission right before Mark Kelly's commanded the 124 to add more to Kibo there. So a good astronaut out there. Has not ever seen him appear on the Space Coast here at the astronaut encounters, but certainly will when we see him. He's a retired Navy officer. Okay. He served tours of duty on the USS America and USS Coral Sea aircraft carriers. So happy birthday to Don Gorie. And there is Dorothy Marie Dottie Metcalf-Lindenburger. All right. She was born May 2nd, 1975 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Beautiful town. But considers Fort Collins her hometown. And I've been to both those towns and know Fort Collins pretty well. She served as a mission specialist on STS-131 in April 2010. All right. They delivered a multi-logistics module to the space station. And that was her first flight, and of course that late in the program, only 4 shuttles left, she never flew again. A beautiful singer. She's been the longtime lead singer with the all-astronaut rock band Max Q. Okay, couldn't find a picture of her singing, but Whitman College is one of her alma maters, Marty. She sang the national anthem at the Houston Astros game against St. Louis Cardinals in celebration of the 40th anniversary of Apollo 11 moon landing. And she was a Nemo underwater diver just down there in Key Largo, Florida. She lives in Seattle, Washington, and had a shout out here from where's my note here? I put my notes together. There, no, there. Who has seen Christopher Mick in Wisconsin? Said that Dottie is coming to see them in Hudson, Wisconsin there soon. So he was excited about that. I'm looking for my notes on that. Okay, well, I need to find my notes on this. All right, so Dottie, there's another. I got another picture over there. There's how she looks today. Beautiful woman, 47 years old. A lot of life ahead of her. I'm sure we'll see her out the Space Center one day. And here's what I'm looking for. The second item there. Nope. Okay. All right, Marty. Who we got enjoying our show today? Gary Gerald's out there on the getting ready for his crops in Collins, Georgia. Bill Whiting, thank you for watching, Bill. Tammy is watching. Tammy Miller. Let's see, where are we at in the sequence here? We're going to talk about our country western star here in a second. So, beam me up, Marty. And Tom Usiak's watching. Little brother Mark's going to be on his way here to cover the Astronaut Hall of Fame. Also, Chris Calley. Hello, Chris. He's going to have his artwork featured there. Carlton Bailey. How you doing, buddy? Zabing's watching. Hazel Banks. Hi, Hayes. Cynthia Rossi. Dave Stange is up in Michigan. Robert Laws in Dundee, Scotland. And maybe you saw our country western star because he's been in Scotland there, Robert. Mitchell Tenpenny. Tell you about him in a minute. Ophelia Sawturls in Normandy, France. And Steve Hammer. Glad that you're watching us, Steve. And he is a space journalist. We'll have to get on Stay Curious next time he's on the Space Coast, Marty. Well, back in December, we had the pleasure of Columbia, Nashville, Sony Music video team coming and doing a video for a song by an artist named Mitchell Tenpenny. And let's just show you what old Mitchell looks like there. There's Mitchell Tenpenny. That's his real name. He's actually a Nashville native, and his music video is "We Got History." Okay, he's just got done with a tour in Glasgow, Dublin, London in March. So I think he still is in Europe. I met the whole crew. It was a lot of fun to hang out with them. I'm not into country music anymore, but probably should have got an autograph from him. I think I did get a picture with him, but it's sort of like any of your family members that don't dig space, not wanting to get oh yeah, that's an astronaut. Okay. When we go into Disney World, that's what you hear a lot of people say it around here. But Mitchell Tenpenny, his official music video, "We Got History." The video was filmed near Cocoa Beach, Florida, and here in Titusville, directed by Brenton Geasley. Thank you, Brenton. They gave us a nice check, Sony did, for using just a morning shoot it was, back in our gallery. They went up that Spaceview Park, the Gemini Monument behind Mitchell there. He is... It's about two people forming an instant romantic connection after meeting each other at a bar. Imagine that, Marty. The male character, an astronaut, presumably playing a younger version of Tenpenny, is kind of heartbroken after they broke up, and he's thinking back, after a few drinks, that we got history. So at the end of the clip is when they feature the American Space Museum and use our Cape Canaveral gallery as a simulated launch spaceship interior there, and it worked out real good. And so you're going to want to check out "We Got History." All right, Tenpenny is really a hard worker. He wrote a lot of music like everybody did during the pandemic. He is recognized for surpassing the 1 billion streams threshold. All right, 1.5 billion streams of his first triple platinum breakout debut single, Drunk Me. His number one hit's called Drunk Me. Surprise, that's a country western song, Marty. Drunk Me. He's got a gold plaque for his debut album, Telling All My Secrets, and a gold plaque for a current smash, Truth About You. I like him. I like his voice. He's got a good, I think, tempo and way about him. There he is, where many of you had a picture taken at that very same spot there. Mike Mitchell, Tenpenny. We wish the best to you, buddy, and we thank you for supporting the American Space Museum and your whole team that I've been in touch with recently. The video came out a couple months ago. I didn't know about it until they emailed me and wanting some background about some of us here at the Space Museum to add to the notes they do on these videos. So kind of a big deal, and we are used lots here at the American Space Museum for beautiful B-roll by the local news stations, and also for the eye candy that we provide here in our one-of-a-kind museum. So, yes, Marty.
Yeah, Dave Stang is asking, how long ago was he in the museum?
December, right before Christmas. And we, Keo Sofex is watching, and Howard Pepper. Hey, Howard, thank you for watching. Yeah, that we couldn't release any pictures. I got some pictures that I can't find because I didn't catalog them right away. But I had to sign a release that we weren't going to say anything about it until it came out, and then I kind of forgot about it. And then here it is. It's a pretty good video out there. We got history. It's kind of a guy looking back, broke up with a gal, but you still look back and say, I lost your phone number, but we still got history, so I'm thinking about you. So, Mitchell Tenpenny. And Marty, once more, we're just going to thank GoHistoryTravel.org for supporting the American Space Museum. Support them. Their newsletter's really neat. A lot of interaction with themselves and these famous places they're going. So support them as we support you out there. So our beautiful peninsula at night, we had hammered with the rain the last 5 or 6 days, and things have turned green, and now we're going to get hot again. So we're grateful. There's our place at night. Right there's where we're at. The tip of the horn is where all the space action is, with those noisy rockets taking off. The next one's in the middle of the night, I think, Marty, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a 3 a.m. Wednesday or Thursday morning. So we'll tell you all about it. Tomorrow we're going to look at the shuttles of the month of May that I didn't dig into too much today. We're going to talk about 3 of the 6 Mercury space flights were in the month of May. Also, Skylab was launched as well, the space station, as well as the first crew in the month of May. And Apollo 10 did the dress rehearsal in May 1969 for the Apollo 11 July landing. So, and Thursday we're going to have a one-on-one discussion with astronaut wife Marie Fullerton, wife of Gordon Fullerton, who passed away some time back. But we're going to hear some great stories from her, thanks to Mark Usiak, who's going to accompany her, one of our favorite launch photographers, Mark, and his brother Tom. So Marie Fullerton will be here Thursday in the Stay Curious studio. You're not going to want to miss that. So until then, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.